Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all of you to the Republican Party Network. We have a good-sized group with us today, and this is being recorded, so we'll have it available for you to review and for other folks on the network to be reviewing as well. And I want first to thank Cottonwood folks for participating with us today. It's very important in terms of what they have to share with us. Why don't we go ahead and have the two Cottonwood folks right now, and then you can introduce John and introduce yourself first of all. And that way everyone knows a little bit about you in terms of who you are. So Rose, you want to start?
I guess. How much do you want to know about me?
Well, just, just very briefly in terms of your involvement with the Republican Party up in your area, perhaps.
Okay, I have been a PC for the last 14 years for the Yavapai Republican Committee. And I have also been an area director for the PCs in my Area 3. I have been part of the Republican Committee for 6 years. I am no longer, I did not run again. So that puts me out of the committee. I ran Mingus Mountain Republican Club for 2 years. It was very successful. And I don't know, I'm doing a lot of other things in the process. I'm bringing speakers over here to Camp Verde because Camp Verde is a very untouched conservative base or Republican base. So I'm bringing people in there, candidates mainly, because we're often running again with new candidates. And that's what I'm doing. I'm the treasurer of the Conservatives for a Constitutional Republic out of Prescott.
Okay.
I don't know. I just like to get involved. I get out there, I get involved. I see an issue that needs fixing, and I try to look for other people, like-minded people, and I go for it. That's me.
All right, great. Thank you. Michael?
I'm Michael Nacito. I'm an activist. I stir it up is the best way I can describe it. I'm new to the Cottonwood area, new to Arizona. And I initially met John Mitchell and Rose through the Yavapai County Preparedness Teams meetings. And I learned from, and Rose will have the history of this, I learned about their being involved in the Second Amendment Sanctuary County designation in Yavapai County, which is our county. And after meeting and just chatting with people, I thought, well, why did they just limit it to the Second Amendment? Why didn't they go for all of them? And so the idea was kind of spawned, and we pursued that.
Okay. The reason why we decided that this was important, there's basically three reasons. First is it's a classic example of activism. And we talk a lot about it theoretically. We hope that we can do some of these things. And I think it's important that we actually see people can go ahead and do this, not only survive, but actually make a difference in their community. And the second reason is because this is what the left is doing. While we see the big headlines on the TV networks about all the big things they're doing in Washington, D.C., the reason why they're successful in Washington, D.C. is what's going on in the communities, in the cities, in the rural areas, the urban areas. A base has been created. And that base, that foundation is obviously very left, socialist, racist, however you want to describe it. But that's why the people in Washington, D.C. are able to really get away with what they can get away with. If in fact our cities and our communities were truly standing for the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, they couldn't do it. And so what we want to do through the Republican Party Network is begin to do the same thing. We've been talking about it, and now here's a real example. So that's the second reason. The third reason is to encourage everybody on this call to think about ways that they can do it in their own communities. And it's not that difficult. It just takes some commitment, which everybody has on this call. I mean, you're already there 99%. You know, the old story about Groucho Marx or Woody Allen, you know, is showing up in life, or I should maybe say Groucho Marx. Life and, 99% of life is just showing up. And at this point, we're there. We're there. And so the third reason then is to actually take a look at how to do it, how to do it. So, and that's what we want to deal with here. And that's what the Republican Party Network is about. So I got some questions, and we want to start off here. We're only going to do this for about an hour. And so if you can keep your answers really short, I'm the worst at that. So I know how hard it is, but the point is we want to keep it short because we don't want, this is not the end. This is just, so we would like to have you back, talk some more with folks, and obviously they can talk with you. And at the end, we'll talk about how that can happen. So first thing is, tell us at the end, okay, tell us what you actually accomplished, and then we'll work backwards. So tell us what you accomplished and why you think it's important.
Okay. We accomplished a 4-3 vote by the city council, designated Cottonwood as a sanctuary city for the Bill of Rights. They squirmed, twisted, and turned, redefined words, felt threatened. The three that voted against it, we had to go over at least 3 city council meetings. The final one was the final vote. In the interim, there was, spacing and seating. So there, I looked around my first meeting, I went in there and I barely knew John, didn't know Rose yet. And chairs were 6 feet apart. There was maybe room for 20 people inside. And I thought there's got to be a way that we can bring the community and represent them into this. So we came up with a petition. And it's
Right there.
and it really became the boilerplate of the resolution.
Right.
And took 50 signatures on each one. We printed them up. I attended a Bible study where most of the people were geriatrics and older than me. So I thought, well, they're not going to go to a city council meeting. So the best thing I could was walk into that city council meeting with a stack of signatures and get noticed. And that's what we eventually, that was the beginning of the process. The ultimate solution was that we got a vote of 4-3 and we're there.
Okay, Rose, any more thoughts in terms of what you were doing?
Yes, I think our persistence, because we got voted down first. And we said, we're not going to stop here because there's nothing wrong in reiterating the oath that you took for office. What is so illegal about that? They tried to make it seem like it was illegal. Well, it's not. They'd already taken that oath. Just reiterate it. And they wouldn't do it. So we went back. And this time we had one of the council women that had not been there. She came in and she pushed us over the top. Very well done. Very well done. Persistence. That's the key.
Okay. In terms of this, how did it, okay, you mentioned a little bit about starting, but how go back to a little way. Now we were at the end, you passed this thing. Go back now to the beginning. Okay. Talk a little bit about how it even happened. So if you were going to advise us at this point on doing the same thing in our own communities, what would you say? I mean, how did this happen? Because it's not happening in a lot of other places. Why you? Why you?
Well, I can speak to the Second Amendment that we did. I am the mother of a victim that was murdered by a gun, and that's old, and I'm not going to go there. And so when they decided that the police officers, we'd already talked to a lot of them, and the sheriff, they were only going to do what the governor said. Well, you know, it's not what the governor says, it's what the Constitution says. And you're a sheriff and you're elected by we the people, and we want you to protect us, even though the governor may say different, it's up to you. And we were getting kind of negative things from them. So we got together, myself, John Mitchell started this, and Drake Mitchell, Myrna Lieberman, and myself. And we said, we're gonna do something here. So John and Drake took it from there to the supervisors, and they were pretty good at listening to us. They scheduled us for a hearing, and the first one didn't go, but the next one, we did it. We did it with over 500 people standing outside in freezing weather,
No.
and maybe about 100 inside. And we talked to them, and we did it. One councilwoman stood up and she says, folks, listen to all these people. This is America, and they are speaking to you, and we need to respond in a positive way. I vote aye for the Second Amendment sanctuary city here in Yavapai Sanctuary County. And that's how we did it. But like I said, persistence again. And now we've got the governor that did a resolution also to make Arizona a Second Amendment sanctuary state. So who knew? Who knew we'd go all the way to the top?
Right,
So
right.
we were squeaky.
Michael, any thoughts?
So when we initially, well, the first council meeting, we brought this to them. It was an open forum. It wasn't on the agenda. So you fill out a card and everybody gets to go up there, and we all had an idea of what we were going to say. And as a matter of fact, I didn't speak at the first meeting. I thought, well, I'm new and I'm just going to sit back and listen and what have you. And so we had 5 or 6 people speak and basically describe what we were looking for and wanted the council to pursue that. So that was, in and of a nutshell. They don't respond to the open calls. They just listen and said thank you, and that was that. We finally got to where we tickled the ear, I guess, of a couple council members who said they would co-sponsor a resolution if we could come up with something. And that's when the resolution that you have that we have that was signed, excuse me, number 3094, that passed the other night. That was kind of started with some language of a few of us, and then we had some other people that were used to putting contracts together and that sort of thing. And then ultimately the 2 council members that were sponsors gave it to the city attorney to formulate it into their legalese and make it formatted the way they accept them. And that was when we got the ball rolling as far as getting petitions signed. I have 3 gun shops in town, and I went to them and they put the petitions right on their counter. And then there was a gun show actually at the fair at the Verde Valley Fairgrounds, and they gave us a booth to set up right at the entry to where we had people going by us, and they were willing to sign petitions. And so we gathered all these signatures. We ended up with about 670 of them. And so it went, well, I'm going backwards here a little bit. No, I submitted those signatures the night that they voted 3-3. I think Rose said this. There was a lady who was absent. One of the council members was absent. And so it ended up being a 3-3 tie, which means no. If you have a 3-3 tie at the city council level, it means a no vote. So on the next day, I wrote a letter to the editor and I accused her of not being there on purpose so that she didn't have to reveal her deck of cards, her cards. She conveniently wasn't there so that she didn't have to vote yes or no. She's a Democrat, I understand, but she's a patriot. But anyhow, I wrote a letter to the editor, and I wrote that same letter was sent to all city council members. She wrote me back, emailed me back the very next day and explained what occurred, that she was actually scheduled out of town for a long time. and that she was en route back during the council meeting, so she couldn't participate via Zoom. And so I got and wrote a letter to the editor apologizing to her. And I think that struck a chord with her. She had an apology. But I stick to them. I'm firm, but I'm courteous. I'm a 30-year veteran of 3 different cities, and I've been in front of the council on both sides, answering questions and presenting staff reports. So I know kind of the machine and how it thinks. So I apologized to her, and she wrote me back and thanked me, and she said that she would consider co-sponsoring if we wanted to present it to the council again. So she would have been number 4. And so we continued at that level and brought it again to the council. Once we knew it was going to the council, we were scheduled. We had to meet and show up again.
Okay. Is John, I think John's is John now on the call? John, is it John Mitchell? I see his, hey, John, are you able to hear us? Okay, yeah, it's so hard to pretty hear. I have a question. Was this at all done by the Republican Party, or are we talking about individual citizens?
I'm a libertarian, and I'm not a Republican. So
Okay. Well, see, that's the thing here, and I want you to respond to this idea. One of the reasons why the Republican Party network was established is because of the fact that the Republican Party is not fighting for the kinds of issues that you're talking about. Now, they may be doing it rhetorically, and they may be doing it on the networks in the talking heads. But when it comes to the ground level, the kinds of things that you're dealing with, the Republicans are not, the party itself and the leadership is not taking the action. Certainly the Democrats are. So what we're talking about here on the Republican Party network is changing that. We believe that the Republican Party itself should be leading these kinds of efforts. And we also think that if the Republican Party was doing that, there would be much more involvement, enthusiasm, and support for the GOP in really more meaningful ways. React to that. Is it something that can happen, should happen? What's your thoughts on the Republican Party taking more of a leadership role and supporting, not only supporting, but actually leading and organizing the kinds of things you're talking about throughout the country?
Personally, I feel, I see things the way you see them. Our party here in the state of Arizona is not really working with the real, true people that want to get out there and make a change for the better. I've seen some posts this morning that I had to reply to.
Here you are.
They're not working for the people. I think they're working for their own little clique, and that's got to stop. It's
Okay, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
exactly. We've got to be inclusive. But our party over here is not.
And the reason we asked you on this call, obviously, was to help push that. And so that's what we need help with, because you guys up there are actually doing it.
I see.
And so as we continue and we finish up our call here for the next 30 minutes, I'd like to have us talk about ways that the kinds of things that you have done and what you've learned, we can help the Republican Party at the grassroots level repeat that, replicate that, and do the same thing. That's what we want to do. Because if it's just your community, it means nothing.
That's right.
We need to get the entire country doing what you're doing. So how do we do that? John, can we hear you, John? I'm not sure.
I see, John.
Yale, can you hear me, Yale?
How's that?
I can hear him.
Okay, go ahead, John.
If you recall, if you recall the Tea Party movement, I was involved in the Tea Party movement that really seemed to be able to remember. I remember.
Yeah. John, we're not hearing you. I'm sorry to say. I wish maybe at another thing, but the voice is really, really low.
Gail, he has
yes.
to unmute.
Oh,
John,
you-
bottom left
He
of your
has to
screen,
unmute.
there's a mute button.
Okay, John, can you see a mute button there? Can you unmute?
Bottom left-hand corner.
Bottom left-hand corner.
Put your
He's done
cursor,
that
it'll
already.
come up red.
He's
Right
done
here.
that already and it's not functioning, so, sorry.
No, it says unmute. It says it's not muted.
Now he's not muted. He can
Try it
talk.
now, John.
Try it now, John.
Can you hear me?
He doesn't have his speaker loud enough on his,
Can you turn your speaker up?
Now I can see you all,
Yes,
and you can see my picture has come up.
yes.
No, it's just not, it's not coming across. Yeah, so other thoughts in terms of what we can do in terms of what you've learned and how we can translate that. For example, Rose, you mentioned that you were part of a Republican club in your area.
Yes.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. Did you even consider contacting your Republican club, and maybe you did this to get involved in your effort?
Yes, I did, but it seems like it's the same people over and over again that decide that they're going to join in, and it's a handful out of 100. It just, I don't know what to do to get people enthused to understand that this is so important. I don't know what to do. So then I served my 2 years and I moved on to our group in Prescott Valley, who seems to be more active. And like I said earlier, I've taken my group to Camp Verde because I feel that there are a lot more people there. And this is through veterans. I'm sorry, I'm conservatives for a conservative republic. That is where I'm taking my group now, to Camp Verde, to see if I can tap into the energy of those people. And the first meeting I had turned out very well. So I'm planning on having another meeting and bringing in more people and having meetings with them and discuss the things that we want to do. We've got to move. We may know a lot of things, but if we don't put words into action, we're dead. I do a lot of things. I go out, I go to a lot of events, I meet people, I listen in on the conversation. If they have the same spiel that I have, the same speak, then I go and join, I meet them, I join them, and then things just begin to happen. We stay connected, and I think that's what happened here. And this time, John and I have stayed connected, and here we are. Starting another Republican Party in Camp Verde, that's a big possibility, very big possibility. And I would like to see that happen. If I don't start one, then I'm sure that we can get, with the new audience that we're getting, get other people to start, and I can help them. I can, I've been part of the group for years, so.
Okay. Well, we would encourage you to start it and get other folks to start it and put it together, and the Republican Party network can work with you because
Okay.
you can be able to communicate with folks certainly more easily and communicate and get information out, be part of our whole network in terms of speakers and things of that sort. The most important thing is that the clubs really have to change and become the kind that you've described. That's our focus. That's our goal. But it's got to require then taking that action. And when you have your next meeting, If you would then talk with folks about the idea of getting involved with the Republican Party network. And then also we can put you on and have a Zoom call and talk to other clubs. There's several people on this line right now that are members of other clubs that are connected with the Republican Party network.
Yeah.
And we've been having meetings and discussions, and the kinds of things that you're talking about can take off if people start seeing this is what we need to do.
Yes.
Other thoughts? Let's open it up at this point then. Questions from other folks for our guests? You can unmute yourself and ask a couple questions if you have some. Suzanne?
Yale, I'll jump in here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Michael and Rose, you said you got the idea for this from the YCPT, and did you use their wording and just adjust from there, or did you write up your own document?
Are you talking about the Second Amendment?
Well, no, your Bill of Rights resolution.
Oh, the Bill of Rights, that would be Michael's question. A question for Michael is easier. I was a volunteer. I helped him get signatures and bring people to the meetings, but they did the work.
Okay.
The YCPT was basically a place where I met these people. I was invited there. I was new to the community. And so over time, we're kindred spirits, we're like-minded. And I'd heard about the Second Amendment resolution that went through the county. And so the idea was going to be, if we're going to go to the council, we got to petition the council to do something. We need a petition. There's a lot of people up and down my street that are elderly, but it was during COVID besides this. So nobody was going to city council meetings. A lot of the city council was doing may have been swept under the carpet because nobody was there to monitor them. So the petition was a part of that, initiated part of that. The resolution, I think maybe I even tried to draft a resolution. John brought in a gentleman, Rose knows him, Barry Jones, and he was involved in, is he an attorney, Rose?
The drafting? I don't know.
He's not, okay. So he was involved in polishing it up somewhat. And then we brought that, that document was brought to the two council members that were sponsoring the resolution, and it was given to the city attorney to finish the document.
Okay. Well, you and Rose and some other people, I take it, worked on this together. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have regular meetings, weekly, monthly, whatever? You couldn't have had a monthly if you got all this done in the time you say. So you must have been meeting either together or Zoom or something.
Well, we just learned how to use Zoom today, so I wasn't not Rose, but I mean, we met sporadically. We discussed things. John and I and one of the members met for breakfast to kind of figure out what is it got to look like for you guys to bring this to the council for consideration. And so, we didn't have regular meetings. We didn't Zoom. We just when we got together to discuss it, a lot was discussed, a lot was decided. It was a handful of us. It just seemed right. Even now, my goal next time, I'm going to go to the next city council meeting and basically excoriate those three council members for their behavior, because we thought we were going to walk in there and it was going to be a 7-0 decision. I mean, who decides after having pledged allegiance to the flag and having taken an oath of office, who decides to vote against the Bill of Rights? But they're using they changed the name the term sanctuary city, they've twisted that to mean something. One of the council members felt threatened by us. Another lady, I don't live in the city, I live 3 blocks away. And I asked initially if I could speak, and they said, sure. So I thought when we circulated the petitions, people were saying, well, I don't live in the city. And I said, if you live in the outlying area, you're within the sphere of influence. We shop, we work, we play, we worship, everything, we eat, we dine, we recreate in town. And so they benefit from us even if we don't live there. And it was never a rule, no rule was ever given to us that we had to live there, and the petitions were submitted as such. The city clerk never said, I can't accept these. And remember, we were over a period of 3 city council meetings. The last council meeting, no one came back and said, these are unacceptable. And yet after the discussion, after the vote, with the bully pulpit, these 3 council members, one of the council members said, Mr. Nacito's petition had mostly people that many of them didn't live in Cottonwood. And they put that in the paper. Well, I had to go and write a letter to the editor correcting that. It was never required that they were from citizens or residents of Cottonwood. No one ever said that. The clerk said, you're fine. I was allowed to speak. This never came up except afterwards when this council member, who's an attorney, started posturing and saying her little blurbs and saying things that were partially true. And then the newspaper printed it, which basically made me look like I was submitting signatures that were unauthorized. And so I wrote a letter to the editor back and clarified it. And I plan on going to the next city council meeting, and each one of them, I'm going to call them out on their lie.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the information. I didn't want to hog all this time. I just was interested in that thought.
Yeah. One of the things that you said that's very interesting and something that is a key learning is that you don't need a big giant strategic plan to accomplish this. You don't need to put together, timeline and resources and dates to accomplish and outcomes. You basically have people who sit around, have coffee or breakfast in the morning and say, look, this is not right. This is wrong. We need to fix it, and let's do it. And what's happened is with the political process right now, it's become so top down that people think at the ground level that they really can't accomplish anything. And you're showing us that that's not only is that wrong, but you can accomplish it. But I have to tell you, if we don't get the Republican Party connected and linked to this at the ground level, it's not going to make any difference. So I would encourage you to get your club formed, or if the club exists, transform it into things you're doing. And bottom line is this: if you have 50 people in the room and only 10 of them want to do something, let the other 40 go.
That's it.
Because what's happening right now is we are being weighted down by 75% of the people who don't want to do anything, while the 25% do. And we have to stay with the people who want to do something and get something done, and just let the other ones go. Because you have shown it doesn't take an army. It just takes committed people who are not going to take no for an answer.
Right.
Well, we've got to get the Republican Party doing that, and you folks are showing that how to do that. I got another question, and it has to do, and you've kind of alluded to it. What are we going to do with those 3 people that voted no?
We got a good one. I thought I saw John there. Can John talk now?
Well, if John can talk anytime he wants, just we can't hear him. Why don't you try again, John? Yeah, see, can't hear. We're going to do this again, and we're going to make sure John can tell us. But in the few moments remaining, can you kind of summarize where you're headed with those 3 people?
Absolutely.
Recall.
We're going to do a recall. Right now, we're getting the paperwork ready. We do have someone to run against the mayor, and we're going to get our paperwork going. We're going to file it, and we're going to take it all the way. And also, we will be writing articles about the other 2. that have gone rogue against the people, and see if we can replace them in the next election or sooner, because it's got to happen. We can't fix anything if we don't fix this.
Right.
We're at the bottom level here when we're in the city. And if you don't fix that, it just gets bigger. And we want to stop this. We want to stop those crazy leaders.
Is this a the city council, that's nonpartisan?
I think, yes, it is. But
Okay.
the mayor is an independent, and the two people that voted against it are Democrats.
Okay. Well, again, the whole idea is even in the nonpartisan, obviously, it's a little different than other issues and rather other campaigns. But again, on that, it would be great to start organizing Republicans that want to get involved. Suzanne, you had a question.
Yeah, I do. Because I've been able to listen to this whole thing, and you guys are fabulous, and what you've done is what we all need to do. Do you have any perspectives to start going after the schools in your area?
You know, we haven't touched there, but I know that it's a very, very important issue. That the things that are happening in our school, I've seen what's happened all over the state of Arizona, and people are bringing these councilmen down and making them answer questions. So that we've not discussed that, but that is certainly something that John and I and Michael and a couple of other people that we have also that are part of the group, our group that listen to us on other issues. We're going to bring that forward. We will bring it forward.
Yeah, I'm curious I'm curious as to how many schools, and roughly, obviously not everything you have, but is your area going to homeschooling? Is that being?
I have not gone there. To tell you the truth, I don't know. But I do.
You'll be more angry about those than you will be about what you've already worked on. I'd almost guarantee it. Our school has dropped from 130 students to 70, and all of the other kids have gone to homeschooling.
Yeah,
That's how bad it is. And I'm down in southern Arizona.
that is
I
something.
can chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the people in that Bible study that I go to, he's a former educator, and he, through this whole effort of hearing what we were doing, he decided to, he's going to run for the school board.
Great.
And minded as we are.
Good job.
That's valuable that just starting a little fire over here and a little fire over there is the way we have to do it.
Mhm.
In talking about how many people were involved, I remember we put together when we went to the gun show, and we had a little tilt up, put together. We got a banner that was made from a print shop that said Cottonwood's Bill of Rights petition. And, 3 guys heard about it. They gave us some money to help pay for it. And so it was just a bunch of guys, that are like-minded, godly men that just want to make sure it would happen. We went out and bought paper clips to hang the thing up, and we got pens, and we got, someone asked me, well, where'd you get, how much? I started printing them on photo stock because I ran out of paper, but we got it done. You just get it done. There was a lot of people that helped. It wasn't official, like you do this, you do this, you do this. Somebody just said, hey, I need some help. And he say, I could do it. Getting people signed up for the gun show. That's where I met Rose and her husband, Dick. I met Dick at the gun show. He said, now I can put a face to a name.
Yeah.
And that was 2 months into this thing.
Well, you again, you've given some real practical examples of what we mean by organize. When we talk about organizing, we're talking about recognizing and value the resources of the people around us. And what that means is people have various skills and knowledge that no one even knows about, unless it comes down to doing the kinds of things you're talking about. You're sitting there at coffee, having breakfast, and you start saying, well, we need this. And somebody says, I can do that. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. And that's what we mean by organizing, valuing the resources of the people around us. But if the only thing we do is say, well, I'm sorry, you go out and register voters, knock on the doors, and do other people's bidding, what we're doing is using people. And what we want to do is start recognizing that everybody in our community is valuable. And there's unbelievable talents and strengths that when we put them all together, we can accomplish great things. And that's what you've done. But I have to tell you, think of it this way in your Bible study. What if all of those folks knew that the Republican Party was their advocate and truly was their advocate? In other words, we're talking about the Republican Party advocating for the things you're doing and supporting it 100%. That's what we are after. And that's the goal. And it's transparent and it's legitimate. So with this said, as we come to a close here, we need you to come back and
Definitely.
when we can, when you start looking at the recall and you start looking at the things you're going to be doing, we're going to want to have a lot more information because we want to learn from you because you're actually doing a lot of these things. The other part of it is on the persons or the individuals that are running for school board, there is a boot camp that we have that's put together. And there'll be another session coming up later on. And you'll want to stay in touch and go on to the Republican Party network and see that. Because what we're talking about is people not just running for the school board, but understanding what it means to be an America First candidate, which is a very different thing than just running, because the system takes people over. The system takes people over, and people need to fight for their values and their beliefs, which is what you're doing. The other part of it is, the Second Amendment is one that's pretty obvious in terms of our state and a lot of states. I mean, it's pretty clear. If they're going to end the Second Amendment, they're going to have to deal with the end of a gun.
Right.
And they know that. But when we start talking about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, those get real fuzzy. And we saw over the last year losing it everywhere. You couldn't practice your faith. You couldn't go out in public. You couldn't go to a restaurant. Businesses closed, and they completely eliminated our rights. What you're doing is so important because you basically have said, if you're going to take an allegiance to the Constitution, then you're going to support it. And if you're not going to support it, we're going to expose you everywhere. So this is one of the things that I challenge you on. When you really get involved with the recall, you give us those names and we'll put them all over the network. And we'll put them on the network saying these are 3 people who took an oath to the Constitution, but would not support a resolution on the Bill of Rights.
Okay.
We have to start doing that. Can you imagine what it would look like in every community if we started, instead of putting together lists of those people that boycott Trump, how about a list of people that boycott the Constitution?
Yes.
And that's the way we start changing things, because people need to understand we're serious. But it's the Republican Party that's serious. And so I want to thank you for this. Is there one last question?
Yale, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, Michael and Rose, are you familiar with red, white, and blueprint?
No. I'm
Okay.
not.
This
No.
is Shasta County in California, and it's on the internet. It's red, white, and blueprint.com.
Okay.
And they have already started a program of running some county supervisors off via a recall election. And they made some videos, and you might go on there and look at video number 1, number 2, at least, and see what they did to get their their supervisors, county supervisors, recalled.
Whoa.
Thank you.
And that might give you some thoughts on what to do there.
Yes. Yes. I will look it up immediately.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to do is John has a quote that he wanted me to speak, and
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. Are you there? Sam Adams. It does not take a majority to prevail,
rather an irate, tireless minority.
but rather an irate, tireless minority. Damn Adam.
Yeah, and that's what you did, and that's what this is all about.
Hang on, it's not it. Then the last part is keen on setting brush fires. Go ahead, John.
In the minds of men.
Of freedom in the minds of men. I'm sorry I didn't get to look that up, but you're occupying my entire computer screen.
Well,
John, I want to give John credit. John, it was pretty much the behind the scenes leader of all this. John and I are as angry as can be about these city council members that are doing what they do. But I've been able over time to
Agree 100%.
to rein him in and basically say this is how that format works. And so we work together really well. And I'm frustrated as heck, and I'm sure he is, because he hasn't been able to speak as much as I think he should have. So as far as I'm concerned, and I hope Rose thinks the same way, John's our leader.
John's leading this one.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
well, then we're okay. Then you being the Zoom expert, you're going to have to get him working.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll all sit in the same room, face to face with our computers in front of us and get everything running.
Well,
there.
and
No.
that's the ideal. Go
Can I
ahead,
just-
Susan. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I want to help John. Okay, now John came on to the call a little later, but when you come on to these Zoom calls, while you're waiting in the room for Yale to let you in, on your screen is a little bar at the bottom and it says, test your speaker. Click on that, another screen comes up and you'll see a bar as to where your speaker is with a little ball on it. You know where your speaker is, but up at the top, you can test your speaker and it will speak to you. So you will know exactly how loud your speaker is. I think that is what happened here, that he just inadvertently forgot to do that. But it's just a real
Could be.
important step. It's a very important step so that we don't have this happening, that somebody that should be speaking can't speak.
Yeah, no, that's,
We'll figure it out.
yeah, well, and
It's very
we-
important. Yeah.
we need to get that written up so that folks
Okay.
know that, yeah. Because that's pretty important. But
Yeah.
we want you back though. And
Yes.
to kind of give us this, what this is going to do is we're going to put this on the network. And so it'll be a tease really for a lot of folks, because this is going to raise a lot of questions. And hopefully we'll get more communities involved with this around the country. The final point is, and it has to do with Suzanne's comment about the schools. As I think you know, we do have a national network put together dealing with getting rid of government schools. And a number of folks that are on this particular Zoom call are leaders in that effort. And our interest is to get rid of government schools completely and turn and have every parent receive the equivalent amount of money that the school district does, so that they can then decide where they want their children to go to school. And with that, of course, we can then begin to start changing a lot of things pretty quickly. And so if you're not involved with that, find out more about it. There's quite a bit of information on the Republican Party network. The other thing is, please start getting the word out, getting people on the network. The more people on it, the more we start doing things. And if you need some assistance or help or support, Susan Kay is an expert in terms of clubs, knowing them, every possible thing about them. Rose, you know about clubs as much as anybody as well. So the point is, we just need to do that. And as I said, if there are folks that are weighing us down, you just need to let them go. And the Patriots will show up. Any final thoughts, questions?
Hello, I just happened to jump, I just saw it, and jumped
Go
in.
ahead.
Transcend. Hi there, hi Rose. Also, because we do Zoom like 3 times a week with different things that we're involved with. And then I do gaming with my daughter once a month. So I'm always on Zoom. But there's something that I've realized a lot of people don't when we get speakers to come in and speak, and we're not hearing them. It's because there's down in the left-hand corner, there's a little thing that says mute, and some people forget to unmute themselves when they're speaking. And so that's why we can't hear them. So they need to make sure that they unmute themselves and those who are not supposed to speak mute ourselves. And sometimes then they also, if they stop the video, then you can't see who it is that's up there. They start the video, then you can see them. Yeah, there's a couple little tricks with this that goes on. And I think Zoom has done some updates too to recently in the last week or two. Because now I realize that I guess when you give permission, other people can actually record as well. They get permission from the host.
Right.
This just showed up last night on our Zoom meeting we were doing, and I go, oh, okay, that's cool. So that was new. Anyway, I just thought I'd jump in and say that real quick because I was doing other stuff and I see, oh my God, I'm supposed to be in a meeting. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, anyway, thank you very much, Cottonwood. And we again, this is great stuff. We really appreciate you taking some time, and we're going to get it up there in a day or so. And then let's be in touch, and we'll set something up again. And this time we'll make sure everything works.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later.